Hello guys, welcome back, and today we will discuss about Indian Mental Health Act 2017. We will see the provisions of Indian Mental Health Act 2017 here. So what is the meaning of mental health? As we all know that mental health is an ability to maintain a balance between you and your surrounding. That means the individual and their surrounding. It is an ability to maintain a harmony between you and your surrounding. That is a simple definition of mental health. According to WHO, that means World Health Organization, mental health and well-being are the fundamental to quality of life, enabling the people to experience life as meaningful and become creative and active citizens. So, mental health is the basic thing of a quality, or it is the base of a quality life. It will design or it will define the quality of life. So, mental health is very important and it has equal importance like physical health. In our country, the availability of mental health hospital and the equipment which is necessary for the treatment is very less comparing to other countries. According to WHO, that means World Health Organization, there are just around 40 mental institutions or mental health institutions in our country, in which only 9 are equipped to provide treatment for children and fewer than 26,000 beds available for a nation comprising the world's largest population. So, the availability of mental health services is very demanding. The WHO reports reveals that there are just 3 psychiatrists and even lesser number of psychologists for every million people in India. So that is the saddest part of India's mental health setup and mental health services. To overcome these problems and all, the Mental Health Act 2017 enacted and given some provisions to protect the right of a mentally ill person to live like a normal mentally healthy person in the society. The Mental Health Care Act 2017 aims to provide mental health services for persons with dignity by not being discriminated or harassed by it at any cost. So, keeping in these views like mental illness, existing inadequate infrastructure, inadequate workforce, that means the doctors, the psychiatrists, the nurses, or the workers, the social stigma or the myth related to mental health, and the issues of Mental Health Care Act 1987. By keeping all these things in the mind, on March 27, 2017, Lok Sabha in a unanimous decision passed the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which was passed in Rajya Sabha on August 2016 and got its approval from Honorable President of India on April 2017. So the Indian Mental Health Act 2017 defines that mental illness means is a substantial disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory that grossly impairs the judgment capacity or the ability to meet the ordinary demands of life, and also the mental conditions associated with abuse of alcohols and drugs. The Act revoked the existing Mental Health Care Act 1987, which had been widely criticized for not recognizing the rights of a mentally ill person and paving the way for isolating such dangerous patients. So, this Act revoked the existing Mental Health Act 1987 for criticizing the mentally ill person and paving the way of isolating some dangerous psychiatric patients. And now we will discuss the various provisions of the Act. So while coming to the provisions, first thing is right of a person with mental illness. So the Act is saying that mental ill person having the right to get protection from inhuman treatment. They have the right to gain access to their free legal services, and they have the right to get access to their medical records, and also have the right to give complaints in the events of deficiencies in these provisions. It also recommends that provide care in advanced directive way. What is the meaning of advanced directive way? Means provide care how the person wanted or want to be cared and how they should not be cared. How they want, give the care in that way, and if they don't like to get care in some way means just stop it. And when means in the case they become incapacitated because of the mental illness, and this has to be approved by a medical practitioner. And while coming to the admission of a mentally ill person or person with mental illness, the Act also specifically outlines the procedures and process of admission, treatment, and discharge of mentally ill person. There are some procedures. If what is voluntary admission, what is involuntary admission, what is emergency admission, there are some procedure for admission, there are some procedure for discharge. So the Act specifically outlined the procedures and process for admission, treatment, and the discharge of mentally ill person. And another provision is decriminalizing suicide and prohibiting electroconvulsive therapy or ECT. It decriminalized suicide attempt by a mentally ill person. A person with mentally ill shall not be subjected to ECT therapy, that means electroconvulsive therapy, without the use of muscle relaxants and anesthesia, and ECT or electric convulsive therapy will not be performed for minors. So decriminalize the people, those who attempt suicide, if they have mentally ill situation. Don't take them into the criminal custody, and if they are mentally ill. And person with mental illness shall not be subject to ECP or ECT without the use of muscle relaxant. Without the use of muscle relaxant, don't pass current into the brain, because 70 to 120 volt of current is passing for 0.6 to 112 second to the brain. So in that case, muscle relaxants are very important to get a calm and quiet or relaxing the patient. So without the use of muscle relaxants, shall not be subjected to ECT or electroconvulsive therapy. And also ECT therapy will not be performed for minors. For minors, it is not permitted. So these are the other two provisions. So while coming to the right, they have the right to get proper treatment. Avoid inhuman treatment. If the person is getting some inhuman treatment, they have the right to provide complaints regarding this, and they have the right to get free legal access, and they have the right to get access to their medical record, and they have to get the care in an advance directive. That means how they wanted to get to be cared, they have the right to get the care in that way. And if they don't want care in such a way, they don't like, they can say that I don't like it, I don't want care in this way. Then while coming to some other provisions, while coming to the responsibility of some agencies like police, a police officer in charge of a police station shall report to the magistrate if he has reason to believe that a mentally ill person is being ill treated or neglected, and such person need to be examined by a medical officer, and based on such examination will be either admitted to a mental hospital or taken to their residence or respected shelter. So the police officer in charge of the police station shall report to the magistrate if he has a reason to believe that mentally ill person is being ill treated or neglected. So they must report to the magistrate, and the person need to be examined by a medical officer in front of magistrate. And after that only the magistrate, after the decision from the magistrate only, the police officer or the responsible department can take them to the hospital or to their residence or to the shelter home. Then another thing is, if there is any failure in these activities, there is a financial punishment. And the punishment means, if there is any kind of violation of the provision under this act, will be imprisonment up to 6 months or 10,000 or both. Sometimes only 6 month imprisonment or 10,000 rupees fine. Sometimes both 6 month imprisonment and the fine. And the repeat offenders, the same thing is happening every time to a particular person, means can face up to 2 years in jail or a fine of 50,000 to 5 lakhs or both. So punishments are very severe if you are failing to follow this provisions. And the act also assures free quality of treatment for homeless person or for those belong to below poverty line. That means BPL, even though they don't have the BPL card in our country, they have the the act also assures the quality of treatment for homeless person. Not only the person who is having a family will get mental health treatment. It doesn't mean like that. Okay, so the act also specifically saying that the homeless person also have the right to get free treatment though they have a BPL card, below poverty line card. The act says that there are chances to occur mental illness by socio-economic and cultural factors. There are a lot of chances to arise mental illness to the papers. So the act also saying that there are a lot of chances to occur mental illness like socio-economical factors, cultural factors, okay, or lack of access to healthcare, superstitions, or lack of awareness, or the myth, or the discrimination. Anything can be a reason behind mental illness. But the saddest part of this session is that the bill does not direct any provision to address these issues. Act is stressing that there are a lot of chances to come, or there are a lot of chances to arise mental illness. The act is saying the reasons, but the act or the bill does not direct any provisions to address these issues. The new Mental Health Care Act 2017 was mainly aimed to change the fundamental approach on mental health issues, including a patient-centric healthcare or patient-centered healthcare instead of criminal-centric one. Not only focusing the criminal aspect of the person, focus on the patient. That was the first aim of this 2017 mental. While coming to the positive side of the act, there are a lot of positive side for this act. First thing is right of the patient to access a range of mental health care facilities, and the mental health facilities are not available in our state. They can get the compensation from other states. Then right to community living, right to confidentiality, right to access medical records, right to protection from cruelty and inhuman treatment, right to equality and non-discrimination are all ensured by this law. And also it does not make distinction of mentally ill on the basis of poverty and homeless. A patient with mental illness, that means PMI, are entitled to free mental health treatment. And it also restricts ECT, that means electroconvulsive therapy without anesthesia, and any type of ECT to children, and also restrict psychosurgery. So these are all the positive sides of the act. So the act specifically saying all these things. They have the right of patients, they have the right to access the mental health facilities which is available in our country, and if there is no facilities available, they can get the compensation from other states. They have the right to community living like a normal person. They have the right to keep the confidentiality in regarding their treatment and all. They have the right to access the medical records regarding their diagnosis and all. They have the right to get protection from inhuman treatment or cruelty. They have the right for no to get protection and from non-discrimination, and also there won't be any distinction of mentally ill treatment on the basis of poverty and homeless. And also PMI are entitled, that means person with mental illness are entitled to free mental health treatment, and specifically ECT is only we can give with muscle relaxants. Without anesthesia we cannot give ECT, and any type of ECT to the children are completely restricted, and especially psychosurgery. So another important thing which is stressed by the Mental Health Act 2017 is the role of family in mental health patients treatment. The act has not specified any role of the family members in the hospital environment, but family has a great role in the provision of care. If there are no family members, the medical board, that means two mental health professionals, can make provisions to surpass the requirement of a family member. And by default, one family member needs to accompany and be with the person with mental illness during the inpatient treatment. As Act has not specified any role specifically, but family has a great role in the provision of care. While coming to an analysis, Mental Health Act 1987 did not specifically provide a definition of mental illness, but Mental Health Care Act, that means MHCA 2017, defined a mentally ill person as a person who is in need of treatment by any reason or any mental disorder other than mental retardation. So a person who is in need of treatment by a reason of any mental disorder other than mental retardation. And other thing is that the act need to make provision for adequate professionals and workers in the field of mental health, and also adequate financial support and budget, because we are going to deal with the emotional aspect of the person, not with the intellectual aspect of the person. Sometimes 1:1 care is needed. In that cases, we need more professionals, more psychiatrists, more doctors, more healthcare assistants, more support workers, more nurses. So adequate support workers, doctors, professionals is needed. At the same time, adequate financial support and budget also needed. Another thing is, or another drawback is in MHCA 2017 section 89, which allows a person with mental illness to be admitted or treated without his consent, but with the request from a nominated representative. So here what will happen? Without the consent of the patient also, sometimes he or she will get admitted in the hospital. Sometimes the clinician will depend on the nominated representative than the patient. So that is another drawback we can see based on the analysis of MHCA 2017. And the act also ignores the presence of mental health program in the country. The act should not have, or the act should have mandated all the states to implement national mental health program, and the state mental health authority should have been made responsible for the same. Only in few states we have national mental health program projects available right now. So the act should have mandated all the states to implement national mental health program. That is the another drawback which we can see. But at the same time, welcome move or positive move also we can see. Among that, one thing is substance use disorder was not specifically mentioned in 1987 Act except in chapter 3rd. But MHCA 2017 has included the substance abuse disorder in the definition of mental illness itself, because substance abuse is a very severe mental illness that can create a lot of problem to the patient as well as to the society. So that is a welcome move which we can see in MHCA 2017. Then this Mental Health Care Act 2017 given a provision for children and adolescents. That is another very important move or welcome move we can see in this Mental Health Care Act 2017. In keeping with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, Mental Health Care Act considers all individuals below the age of 18 years as minors. All the individual below the age of 18 years as minors. That is another very important thing which we can see in Mental Health Care Act 2007. There is a provision for children and adolescent. And another positive move is the decriminalization of suicidal behaviors, and this is especially useful for adolescents who have high rates of self-harm and suicidal behaviors. Adolescents with mental illness like borderline personality disorder, psychosis, or those who have with dual diagnosis, they will show the self-harm and suicidal behavior and all. So if we think the suicidal ideation or suicidality is a criminal problem, means definitely they have to go to or they have to face the legal procedure. So the positive move by Mental Health Care Act 2017 is decriminalization of suicidal behaviors, especially that was useful for adolescents who have high rates of self-harm and suicidal behaviors, and which indicate that what there is a presence of serious psychological distress and that require urgent medical, including psychiatric intervention. Then, while coming to other welcome moves, one of the positive initiative is that it give more importance on the inpatient admission procedures, and we have to follow all the formalities while doing the procedures of admission. Then the Act clearly state the role of nominated representative. That means NR, nominated representative, typically the parents, guardians, or the state appointed person. And who is an NR means a parent, guardian, or a state appointed person in all aspects of decision making for mental health care of minors. That is a welcome move. The Act clearly state the role of NR in all aspects of decision making for mental health care of minors, and the nominated representative can also make advanced directive for minors. You know what is advanced directive, how they wanted to be cared and how they don't want to be cared. and the nominated representative must accompany the minor during an inpatient admission and non-separation of infant and toddlers from the mothers getting treatment for mental illness unless there is any risk to the child. So the infant and toddler can stay with the mother unless there is any risk to the child. That is the welcome moves we can see in this Mental Health Care Act 2017. Then another thing is Mental Health Care Act 2017 and older adults with mental illness. So the act given provision for older adults with mental illness. The elderly population with physical illness has high prevalence of mental illness. So elderly population with physical illness has high prevalence. They have more chances to get mental illness. The prevalence of mental illness is more in older people who staying in residential institutions such as care homes and depression, dementia and delirium are the most common mental illness which we can see in older people. Apart from psychiatric disorders, a significant proportion of older adults facing some other problems like neglect, negative expressed emotions and abuse. Apart from this depression, dementia and delirium, some of the other psychiatric problems or the things which trigger psychiatric problems also we can see among older adults like neglect, negative expressed emotions and abuse. And the recent survey by HelpAge India for older adults across 23 cities in India, nearly 1/4, that means 25% of the interviews reported these type of abuses like neglect, negative expressed emotions and abuse. Elder abuse is an institutional setting is 34%. So elder abuse in an institutional setting is 35%, 34% as reported by the very few studies from India. Section 18(4)(e) articulates that the provision of old age mental health services at each district level. Our next welcome move is Mental Health Care Act 2017 and old age people. Mental Health Care Act 2017 demanding the government to develop old age mental health services and comprehensive rehabilitation services required for supporting the patients and caregivers. So there are a lot of mental health problems we can see for old age people along with physical problems like dementia, delirium, etc. And apart from that, in some areas we can see neglect, abuse and misuse also. So for that also mental health support is very necessary for old age people. So MHCA 2017 demanding the government to develop old age mental health services and comprehensive rehabilitation services required for supporting the patients and caregivers. Section 100 and 101 specify the responsibilities of police in the management of wandering PMA, that means person with mental illness. Older adult patients with cognitive impairment and dementia have a high risk of wandering behavior. They are more vulnerable in the view of difficulty in proper communication. So proactive assistance from the police would be very helpful for the appropriate care of wandering older adults with dementia and other mental illness. That's what MSCA 2017 demanding the government to develop necessary things or create or implement necessary things to protect the mentally ill person, those who are having age or old age people's mental illness support. So, in conclusion, what is Indian Mental Health Care Act 2017? The Mental Health Care Act 2017, number 10 of 2017. It is an act to provide mental health care and services for person with mental illness and to protect, promote and fulfill the right of such person during the delivery of mental health care and the services and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Whereas the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol was adopted on the 13th December 2016 at the United Nations headquarters in New York and came into force on 3rd May 2008. And whereas India has signed and ratified the said convention on the first day of October 2007. And after 3 decades of, or after nearly 3 decades of the previous Mental Health Act 1987, the new Mental Health Care Act 2017 came into force from May 29, 2018. Mental Health Care Act 2017 contains 16 chapters and 126 sections with numerous subsections and clauses. So this is about Mental Health Care Act analysis. So here we have seen the provisions of Mental Health Care Act 2017. Hope you understand, guys. Thank you.